Welcome to the Trip Tales podcast with me, Kelsey Graves. Let's jump into a new episode exploring a vacation destination that you'll want all the details about. Hi, Kari. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk all things Dollywood and Dolly Parton's DreamMore Resort. I start each episode with a rapid fire get to know you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, your family, what you do, all those things.
Sure. I am currently a stay-at-home mom. We have two kiddos, ages 10 and 6, and we live just south of Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee. We have been in this area for going on 8 years now. We moved from the Washington, D.C. metro area and grew up in central Kentucky, so Dollywood was always something that we did growing up as a kid, and then it's something that we try to do quite often now with our kiddos for just a fun little weekend getaway.
Okay, fun. And Kari and I know each other because our daughters went to preschool together. So that's kind of fun. She lives in the same area as me. Okay, but today we're talking about trips to Pigeon Forge area of Tennessee to visit Dollywood theme park and specifically Dolly's DreamMore Resort Hotel. This area is also very close to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. So many people make a trip out of visiting those areas as well. Just a little background for anybody that isn't as familiar with this area in Dollywood. The amusement park went through a few different owners and names back in the day. So some people might remember it as Rebel Railroad, Gold Rush Junction, or Silver Dollar City. But in 1986, Dolly Parton, who grew up in this area, bought the park and reopened it as Dollywood. And Dolly was quoted as saying that she always thought that if she made it big or got successful at what she had started out to do, that she wanted to come back to this part of the country and do something great that would bring a lot of jobs to the area. So I think she accomplished that.
I think she did.
Yeah, in addition to opening Dollywood theme park, in 2015, she opened the DreamMore Resort, which we'll be talking about today. It has 307 guest rooms, mountain views, family-friendly amenities, and is located next door to Dollywood theme park, which is super convenient, and Dollywood's Splash Country, which is the water park, Dollywood's water park. And then just this past year in 2023, she opened a sister resort next to DreamMore called HeartSong, which I was able to walk through recently and dined at the restaurant there. So we will touch on that as well. So Dolly, she is a very busy woman and always has been, but we're so thankful for her. So you mentioned that you grew up in Kentucky and going to Dollywood was something that you did growing up. So did you go like often? Do you remember those earlier names? Like tell us a little bit about your past experience with Dollywood before like being an adult with kids.
Sure. Yes, growing up right outside of Lexington, Kentucky. So it was about a 3.5, 4-hour drive for us, same as it is basically now going from Nashville to there. So every fall, my family went to the Smoky Mountains. Back then it was a lot of more locally owned hotels, locally owned restaurants. So my family just kind of likes the quaintness of it then. And the fall foliage is beautiful that time of year. So we would always go and do all of the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge things. And then about every other year, we would do Dollywood. That's what I always remember it being. I think going as a young child, that's right around some of the transition into Dollywood when things started to change. But vivid memories, it's always just kind of been Dollywood for me.
Yeah. And I will say, I started going just as an adult. I didn't go growing up. But it definitely still does have that like minor Western feel to it, which is part of the charm and part of what people love about it. But just letting people know that it does still kind of have that like Western mining vibe to the theme park.
Yes. It's, I guess vintage maybe is not the right word when talking
No,
about it,
I
but
think,
yes, more like
yeah,
in like a Western feel almost.
yes,
Just with the
definitely.
way they have the park laid out and the vendors and the food options and all of it just kind of goes into that theme.
Right. So do you remember how you first found out about the DreamMore Resort and what made you want to book that and try that?
Sure. I think for us, convenience when traveling with little kids now is just what we look for. So if it's convenient, centrally located, nice, we're all about it. And so before we started staying at the DreamMore, you would stay somewhere else and then you would have to get up and have breakfast somewhere else. And then you would have to drive. And it was a whole morning just to get ready to get to the park. So when DreamMore opened and when we started going, I think the first time we stayed there was back in the fall of 2020. And we have stayed there 2 other times since. And so once we started doing that, just the ease of it all makes it so nice. You are literally just minutes from the park entrance, the hotel. It was super clean. There's restaurants on site. There are pools and different kids activities going on in the evening. So if you get tired of the park and want to come back, you don't really need to leave DreamMore once you're there, unless it's to go to the park and come back.
Yes, I totally agree with that. We loved being in that like DreamMore bubble when we were there. And as much as I love Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and we might talk about some of the things you can do down in those areas while you're on a trip like this, the traffic is insane. It's so busy. And so you kind of feel like you're up in this little lovely Dolly bubble and you kind of just don't want to leave. It's like everything you need.
Right.
And I will say that transportation to and from the park is probably one of the biggest perks because when we went, and tell me if it was the same with your experiences there, there's like a little trolley and you don't have to like buy a whole package through your hotel booking. Like if you buy tickets, just through the website, or if you have a season pass or whatever, as long as you have Dollywood tickets and you're staying at that resort, you can go get on their little shuttle. It drops you at a back entrance or a side entrance. So you're not waiting in the same exact lines as everybody else. And you can go in through the side. And it is just like you said, with kids, so convenient, so easy, because parking is one of the hardest things at Dollywood. It's like these massive parking lots, just like at Disney World, where you have to take a trolley in from way out at your parking spot. So just to be dropped at that side entrance felt like such a dream from DreamMore.
Yeah. And we had done it in the past without staying at DreamMore. And if you don't get there right when the park opens, on the busier days, now we kind of resort to going weekdays or like a Thursday, Friday when most people are still in school. But if you don't get there early, you can be parked in the very back of the lot, and then you have to wait on at Dollywood in the parking. They have a shuttle just from their parking lot. And so sometimes you have to wait on that, and then it stops to pick up people, and then finally you get there. So with DreamMore, like you mentioned, it is literally from the resort to the park, sort of a more special entrance. You don't have to wait with all the crowds coming in from just the public parking lots there. So that is definitely a plus.
Yes. So let's talk about your first impressions of the hotel. When you showed up for the first time and you saw kind of the lobby and just the decor and kind of the vibe, like describe the vibe of the hotel when you first get there.
Okay. And I will start. Our first time was in 2020, so it was a little bit of a different experience. Our first time walking in than what it is like now. At that time, only one person in your party could go and check in, and then you went directly to your room. However, based on all of that and then what it is now, when you walk in, it's just this very, there's music playing. There's beautiful decorations, almost like a quaint, I use the word cozy sometimes to describe it. It doesn't feel, over the top. It's not loud. When you walk right in, you can tell it to be fun. There's a lot of families. Signage was great to tell you where everything was. The views were beautiful. So first impression, when we walked in, we thought, okay, this is as nice as it looks like it is online. Or, when you stay at a place, you never know what the room's going to look like. But once we first walked in, we felt confident that it was going to be all that they sell it and market it to be.
Yes, I agree with that. This last weekend, we were out of town for a soccer tournament and we stayed at a hotel. It was like a Hilton Curio or something. And online, it looked absolutely lovely. And then we got there and I was like, this is not what they are marketing. And it was not a good experience. So I think that's a good tidbit, that what you see online and when you're looking at this resort, the pictures of it and the website, it really does translate exactly the same. I would say it's like a country chic vibe. There's like these huge portraits of Dolly. Her music's playing. There's a lot of really kind of like high-end country chic lounge furniture. When we were there were big checkerboards out on the tables for the kids to be, like those rug checkerboards for the kids to be playing while you were checking in. It was just like a very upbeat country chic vibe. I remember walking in and just being like, oh my gosh, I love it. Like I was like so immediately pleased, everything very clean, super happy. And so then when we went in October 2021, and I looked back at the room we booked, and our room was $399 before taxes. So it was close to $499 after, because there's always taxes, fees, resort fees, all those things, which is pricey. But I remember thinking, for everything we were doing, I was just like so happy to be at the DreamMore. And we had one of the family rooms, which had a king bed and 2 bunk beds, which my kids absolutely loved. And I have 3 kids. So we brought a blow up mattress because we drove for the third, but I am sure you can ask for a cot or, figure that out for the third child. But what kind of room did you book?
It sounds like we had the same one. We have stayed there, and every time we get the family suite, same with the king bedroom on the far end, the shared vanity area in the middle, and then the kids' bunk room with the 2 bunks. So for our 2 kids, it worked perfectly. And I will add, I think we were there in September 2021 also, and it was under 300 for us then, and it was
awesome.
About 270 the year before in October. But for anyone who is thinking of going, my husband is military, and so Dollywood itself offers a great discount for tickets, and then the DreamMore Resort also has a great military discount. So we took advantage of that, and it drops it down significantly.
That is good
for us
to
when we
know.
stay. And so it's really not that much more than just your basic hotel off property with the discounts that they give out so generously.
Yes, that is great to know. And then also, I noticed that if you are a season pass holder, which we haven't done yet, but we have considered, because they have really great seasonal like offerings and festivals and stuff, and it's easy for us to drive over. If you are a season pass holder, there are levels of discounts for the rooms at Dolly's resorts as well. So that's something to consider if you're booking the trip and you're like, hey, maybe we'll try to go 2 or 3 times, buy the season pass ahead of time, and then your room rates are discounted as well.
Right.
They also have like stay and play packages where you get the tickets while you're booking as well. So you can look at those packages. I did just want to read some of the kind of amenities that you get if you're staying at one of Dolly's resorts, which is the DreamMore or HeartSong. So you get priority access to Dollywood or Splash Country, which is kind of that side entrance we were talking about. You get a complimentary Dollywood Time Saver Pass. So each resort guest with a valid Dollywood ticket receives a complimentary Dollywood Time Saver. That's a value of $60 per person per day. I will say, and let's stop here after I mention this and talk about Time Saver. There are 3 levels of Time Saver. There is I guess I didn't write it down, but it's kind of like the lower level, the medium level, and the high level. And those allow you to get in the fast pass lines. So the one that's complimentary with your stay is the lowest level one. I am a sucker for a time saver just because if I'm going to spend all day in a park, I love to be able to skip some of the lines. So do you remember if you had Time Saver and if you took advantage of the complimentary Time Saver?
We did. On Wednesday, we took advantage of the complimentary. At that time, our daughter was really young for most of the rides. And so we took advantage of it and then kind of swapped off with my son. And with that one, we loved it. And like I said, we even go during weekdays now. But if you ever find yourself there on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, from my personal experience, I would say that the Time Saver is almost a must for Dollywood as the weekends do get crowded. The one that they give you complimentary for staying at the DreamMore, I believe it included 5 rides I think there's 13 total rides that you can use the Time Saver for. And the free one that they give you there, the $60 value, lets you hop on 5 of those. And so we did that, and it was fine for us. We have also bumped it up to the Plus, where I think it's 80 this season per person. When we were there last year, we did that one just because our kids were older and we knew that we would want to ride more of them. And that way we didn't necessarily have to just pick 5 rides and then wait in line. So we did that one, and that included Time Saver for all of the rides.
Yes. And then when we were there, I was lucky enough to get sponsored to do some Instagram reels and stuff for them. They offered us the highest one, which is $100 value per person per day, which is really expensive. And I think that's harder to swallow for people, for everybody in their family. And they're being really sneaky with that one because the only way to ride their newest coaster, which is so fun, and I highly recommend, it's called Big Bear, and it's this bright orange, the longest roller coaster in the park. It's over 2 minutes. It's family friendly. You only have to be 39 inches to go on it. So even littles can, although it is a big coaster. My littlest 6-year-old did not go on it because she was like, no thanks. But my 8-year-old and 11-year-old did. And the only way to get a fast pass for that one is to bump it up to that premium tier level, which is $100 per person per day, just so people know. But another tip would be to get one of the lower level Time Savers. You get that automatic one if you're staying at Dollywood, and then you could bump it up if you want to, would be just to go straight to this new Big Bear coaster, which is in the Wild Grove area, and just go, or Wildwood Grove, and just go straight to that before the line gets really long. Did you guys ride that?
That one was opening, I think it opened in the spring, I believe, of last year. And we were there like right before it opened. So we did not do that one, but have heard from several families that yes, if you go right when the park opens, that's your shortest wait time. That one without having to buy the added $100 extra Time Saver just to get that one specifically.
Yeah, I would say go straight there. And then in terms of the Time Saver and like the value of it, I feel like the Time Saver lines at Dollywood are the shortest fast pass lines of any park I've ever been to. Like you like climb up all these steps to get to your ride, and there are like 20 people in front of you. So it's definitely worth the value if you want to hop around on a lot of different coasters. Now, if you don't have kids that want to do coasters, I would say it's probably not worth it because it's really mostly like roller coaster rides that gets you fast pass. The little kid rides aren't typically too long of a wait at Dollywood. So that's nice.
Right.
Okay, just back to some of the other amenities you get at staying at Dolly's DreamMore. So in addition to the complimentary Time Saver Pass, you also get that door-to-door transportation, with which we both love. And that also saves you on the $25 parking fee. So just consider that as you're booking this trip, that you don't have to pay for parking. I didn't know this one, but I was like, ooh, that's good to know. There's complimentary package delivery. So any purchases you make throughout the day from the merchandise shops, you can, or fragile or oversized items. I'm wondering if you can ask this of those huge things you get at like the country fair games. You can get those delivered back to the resort for free. It says simply stop by the front desk to retrieve your items when you return from the park. So I think if that really works well, that's kind of a perk. And then it does say Saturday early entry. So you have to check the calendar for what early entry days are. But during Saturday early entry days, resort guests with tickets can enter Dollywood or Splash Country 1 hour prior to opening to enjoy a select ride. So I guess that means you can go 1 hour early and maybe choose one ride. But that's definitely worth looking into. On their website, they have the early entry schedule, especially like you said, with Saturdays being so busy, that would be something to take advantage of. Have you done Splash Country? I've never done Splash Country.
We have not. No, we haven't done that one.
Okay.
We're not quite, our kids aren't huge water park kiddos yet. So hopefully we can try it, but it's just never been something that as a family we've been interested in just yet, but it looks fabulous.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on our list soon so that I can talk about it. Okay, back to the resort really quick, DreamMore. So there's an indoor and outdoor pool. The indoor pool is small, but the outdoor pool is lovely. It's got that zero entry with little kind of splash pad. There's like a little splash pad off to the left. I thought the pool was wonderful. They call Camp DW, like Dollywood, Camp DW children's activities, which are like s'mores by the campfire every night, nightly story time with PJs, in your PJs with milk and cookies. There is a spa. I have not tried that. And then in terms of dining, there is a quick service pantry that just kind of you can walk up and get like a quick, muffin or breakfast sandwich or snacks. Then they have the Hearth and Song. That's their more formal restaurant, which is kind of a buffet style. We did have breakfast there, so I'll talk about that. There's a lounge where you can get drinks, and then there's also poolside service. We did order a pizza at one point and eat it poolside. I believe it was from maybe the market, but anyhow, we took advantage of a lot of these things. Even though we went in October, it was still warm enough and the pool is heated. So we swam every night. We did s'mores by the campfire every night, which was really sweet. I remember taking so many photos and videos. You're like in the mountains and your kids are making s'mores and they have all these they have them packaged up real cute and all these little sticks for them to use. And then we did love the Hearth and Song breakfast. I will say it's one of those restaurants you do want to make a reservation for online. So we made like an 8:30 a.m. breakfast reservation one morning, and it was a big, beautiful buffet with all the typical eggs, bacon. There was a make your own donut station where the kids got to like drizzle stuff on their donuts and sprinkles, which they loved. And it came with complimentary take home kids cups, which weren't just the really flimsy one. They were like a nice, sturdy Dollywood cup that we still use all the time. We have 3 of them. My kids used them this morning. So that was our experience, kind of hanging out by the pool, doing the kids' activities and dining. Did you enjoy any of those things?
We did. It was a little bit rainy in the evening when we checked in. So we did the indoor pool. And like you said, it's small, but when we were there, it wasn't busy. So the kids still had a fine time doing that. And at the pantry, they have ice cream there. And so that was kind of what we did. We had picked up mellow mushroom in Pigeon Forge on the way. So we had dinner in our room and then did the pool and then did ice cream for the kids at the pantry, which like you mentioned is the grab and go. They had coffee in the morning. And we also had a reservation for breakfast. And there was something for everyone. We have a picky eater and a not picky eater, and everyone left happy and everyone left full. And I think it's just great that they have the breakfast buffet right there on site because like you mentioned in the beginning, you don't have to get back out and get into the traffic, and you go to the park and you're full. It lasted our kids well past lunch before they were, complaining that they were hungry or wanted a snack. So I think if you stay there, it's definitely worth doing the breakfast buffet, just so that is taken care of. And then you just get right on the trolley and you're ready for the park.
I totally agree. And I will mention it's not included, so you do have to pay for it, but I agree that we loved it. We only did it one day. And I think if you're going, just trying it for that one day is fine. You don't need to do it multiple days, but it's a great way to fill up before the park, like you said.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about Dollywood. What are some of your family's favorite rides?
We kind of have a wide variety. And I was asking the kids this last night just for some help and to see what their favorites were. Before I go into that, I will say Lightning Rod is like the tall wooden roller coaster. And that is one that my husband and son always go to first, even if they have the time saver. Just because that one, the lines do get really, really long throughout the day. And we've been a couple times with that ride, and it tends to shut down for long periods of time more often than the others, whether it's a wooden coaster, and so sometimes weather can affect that. And so we usually start there, and that way they can get that big one out of the way before anything, crazy can go on during the day.
That's a great tip.
Thunderhead is another one that everybody likes. It's a wooden coaster. Everyone likes that. The Dragon Flyer is one that my daughter will not ride, but everyone else enjoys that one. And then, like I said, she's 6. And so Dollywood has the little country fair, county fair area there that has more carnival ride type things. And so she has liked that. Even at this age, she still likes those rides. She can do them by herself now. They're super simple, like little lucky ducks that go around in a circle, elephants that fly up in the sky, those types of things she enjoys. And then they do have a mini coaster that's over near Wildwood Grove area, and she will ride that one over and over. So if you have littles who aren't quite ready for the big roller coasters and the twists and turns that come with that, this one is very simple. It's maybe a minute and a half, and it just kind of goes up a little hill and down and around a loop. And so it's a way for them to feel like they're riding a big kid ride or a coaster while still being not scary at all for that age group.
Yes, that one is called Whistle Punk, and my Elle, who's also 6, did that this last trip, and we made such a big deal about it. Like, you did your first coaster, and she loves it. She puts her hands up. It's super simple, but the fun thing is that adults and older kids can ride on it too. So I rode with her. So yeah, Whistle Punk is in that Wildwood Grove area, along with like this acorn spinner that's super cute. It's just these big acorns that go up really high in the sky and just kind of gently spin. They also have some swings, like bird swings, where you kind of fly. They're actually quite thrilling. I was a little like, whoa, when I went on it, but my 6-year-old loves those too. So I would say Wildwood Grove and Country Fair are great areas for like 6 and under, because they have so many cute little kid rides that don't have too long of a line. And in Wildwood Grove is also that Dragon Flyer, which my older 2, 8 years old and 11 years old, that was like their favorite for the longest time, just because it's kind of a step up from that beginner roller coaster, but it's not as intense as the big ones. It doesn't have as big of a drop. It doesn't go upside down. It's just like a very fast paced, thrilling, I would say like entry level roller coaster. So they just think that one's the coolest. So we all are super happy hanging out in Wildwood Grove, doing all those things. And I think maybe the Wild Eagles over there as well, which I went on for the first time with my husband, and it was so fun. It is one that like, it looks like an eagle. So the wings are stretched out on either side, and you are kind of suspended from those 2 wings that hang out. And so your feet are dangling with nothing below you. You look down, and when you come over that drop, you see the entire park and your feet dangling over it. So it's pretty intense, but I thought it's really smooth, one of those new metal coasters, and I had so much fun on it.
The Mystery Mine is kind of close to that also, and that's a fun one. And like you mentioned, with the time saver, you go up all these steps, and then it's almost like you're just right there. And sometimes that line can get a little busy too, on that one, but that's another fun one, kind of in that general vicinity.
Yes.
So you can hit a bunch at once. Everything at Dollywood, I feel like it's pretty compact, even though the park is big in and of itself, but it's not, you don't have to ride one ride and then walk a great deal to get to the next coaster. They're pretty close to one another. So you can hop off one, and then, just a few short steps away is another one.
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's doable in a day. Another one we really like kind of in that area is Tennessee Tornado. That one was fun. Oh, and then I do want to mention in Wildwood Grove, where some of those little kid rides are, there's also a really nice indoor playground that's air conditioned. So if you have littles like 6 and under, and you need some air conditioning, you need to give a child a bottle, you need to breastfeed, you need just to cool down and let your littles do something while bigger kids go on coasters. It's called the Hidden Hollow, and it's just like this building kind of across from like Dragonfly. I think it's basically across from the Acorns, but that is a nice little indoor playground to burn off some steam and cool down if you need an indoor spot for littles.
Yes, we use that one. We use the restrooms because it's kind of in the back of that section of the park. And so there's usually no wait. It's not crowded. But like you said, you can cool down if need to, use the restroom, and then move on to a different area.
Yes. The last two things I'll mention is I just have to say one more time, Big Bear is so fun. It's brand new, bright orange. It's kind of like a bear is chasing you through the park. And it goes for 2 full minutes. There's sound effects like this bear is roaring and chasing you, and you kind of go through this one area where a geyser shoots up. You don't get wet, but it's very thrilling and very fast. And I think it was the highlight of our last trip. And then another fun thing to do is there's a real steam engine that you can ride around the park, and you can kind of see some of the backside of the park that you don't get to see unless you're on the train. And if you have time, that's fun for a family to do as well.
Mm-hmm. We love the train for like that late afternoon break to kind of give the kids a chance to sit for a little bit, maybe grab a snack, do the train, and then have some energy for the evening. It seems to kind of work out for us to do that, and everybody likes it.
Yes. Speaking of the evening, have you stayed for the new drone show before?
We have not. I was going to say the train sometimes, if you do that in the evening when they have like the fall lights or the Christmas lights, that's a really pretty way to kind of look down. Once you're at the back of the park, it takes you sort of through some smaller mountain hill type terrain. And then you can look over and like everything is lit up. All the decor is up. And it's a really cool way to see it at night that the kids usually enjoy as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tip. I think the drone show is kind of newer, but we saw it at Christmas time, which was really sweet and adorable. And these drones, it's kind of crazy. They just like make these sweet shapes like a Christmas tree or a bell or the manger scene. And then there's music piped through, a lot of Dolly's music. And it's real sweet. I will say it was really crowded. And the only place you can see it from is Wildwood Grove. So you kind of need to know that because you're like, oh, there's a drone show somewhere. Well, you've got to get back to Wildwood Grove. We made the mistake of trying to hit up Country Fair, which is a little far from Wildwood Grove, and we were like running to try to make it to it. So you really need to set up shop probably 15 minutes before it starts if you want to see it. And I did see that they're going to do a summer version of that as well. So it's kind of nice because I feel like a lot of the parks do the fireworks shows, which are fun, but this is like a new take on an evening show. I think it was worth it. I think it was worth staying. And also a lot of those coasters stay open late too. So you could ride a coaster or the train or something like that during it and still see some of it going on.
We'll have to check that out. It does sound neat.
Okay, let's talk about food at Dollywood. So I'll go through some of my faves, and then if there's anything that I missed or that you guys have to do while you're there, let me know as well. Okay. So there's this famous cinnamon bread that everybody raves about at Dollywood. You get it at the Grist Mill, which is when you first walk in, there's a big kind of water wheel and mill area. You walk back there. If you want to try it, my recommendation is to go there very early if you're not running to one of these coasters we've talked about, because the line gets progressively longer throughout the day. You can either eat it right then and there, or you can take it to go. So if you have a stroller or a big bag or something, you can put it in there, but that is delicious. We've eaten at Red's Drive-In, which is a very simple burger, hot dog, and fries spot. Nothing to it. It's not like necessarily a drive-in feel. It's just a burger, hot dog, and fry stand, but it does kind of, there's something for everyone if you've got picky eaters at that one. I will say my current favorite is in the Wildwood Grove area, which is apparently my favorite area. There is a Till and Harvest Food Hall, and they have a cilantro, lime, chicken, and rice bowl that is really good for park food. We had like 6 adults that got it last time we were there, and everybody loved it. And that food hall, which is kind of like a walk-up quick service, also has chicken tenders, burgers, mac and cheese, Uncrustables. So there's really something for everyone in that Wildwood Grove area. And then as we were ending our day last time, we ate at Miss Lillian's Smokehouse, which is back towards the front by the grist mill and the water wheel, kind of across the way. And they have a pulled pork loaded baked potato that was so good at the end of a park day, a warm baked potato with butter, sour cream, cheese, and then pulled pork on top. A bunch of adults got that as well. And we were like kind of blown away for park food. So those have been some of our favorites. And I have to say, I feel like the food is pretty good at Dollywood.
Yes, I would agree. I like how you referenced park food because, yes, sometimes it all tastes the same, but I do feel like at Dollywood there are some kind of unique things. The cinnamon bread for us is a must-have. I would almost rather have the bread than ride most of the roller coasters there. It is that good. So go early and get that. Red's Drive-In is an easy one for us because one kid will eat a burger, one kid will eat a hot dog, and everyone loves fries. And so they have an inside area and like a patio area. So in the fall, we usually sit on the patio. In the summer, we've been a couple times to the park, and it's a good one. You can eat inside, and it's air conditioned. Another one that's an easy for us is Iron Horse Pizza, and it is kind of set up the same. There's an inside area and a patio area, and it is back pretty much directly across from where you wait to board the train. And so it's a good, if you get hungry before you want to do the train ride, or if you're in that area, you can sit and eat. And then once it's close to board, you can see right there when it's time to sort of wrap up and get ready to go get your spot. That's an easy one for us. Usually on our way out, we will stop. There is a little spot on the right as you're leaving that has ice cream, candy, treats, and we'll let the kids either get an ice cream or they have caramel apples. They have different types of pastries and baked goods. We'll pop in there and let them pick something. And then typically for us, we have a few spots around town that we like for dinner. So as far as the sit-down ones that you mentioned, we haven't tried those, but the pulled pork baked potato sounds like it might be something that we try next time.
Yes, the food is great at Dollywood. So that's another perk. And then one of the other great things about Dollywood is that there are a lot of sweet shows and music going on throughout the day. We have never made it a priority to like hit up one of the shows or make sure that we're checking the schedule. But if you've got people that aren't into coasters, or if you're bringing, grandparents, there are a lot of great indoor shows. We did end up seeing a Christmas show just because we were walking by and we were like, oh, let's sit down. And it was really cute. It was great actors and kind of talking about the real meaning of Christmas and some great songs. So there's also carolers sometimes in front of the Dollywood church, which is the chapel, which is really sweet with candlelight. So that is something to check out the app and look at what's going on as well. And it's a good way to get out of the heat or the cold if you want to go indoors. Do you guys ever hit up any of the shows?
We have not with kids, but you referenced grandparents. So that was one of the things when I was growing up as a kid. Once I was older and able to go do rides on my own, my parents were never roller coaster type of people. And so they would go find a music show that was going on or just a place to sit down and still kind of enjoy that. And then we have, some aunts who will go with their children. And that's what they go for. They just like to sit. And then if parents need help with the kiddos or need them to watch a kiddo while they ride, they can. But like you mentioned, there are so many shows, live music going on all throughout the park. And in the summertime, I could see where it would be a great a break spot also, just to kind of get out of the heat, watch a show, chill out for a little bit, and then go back out for more rides. So that may be something that we look to try next time. We've just never really made it a priority. The kiddos are kind of at that stage to where they have so much fun going from ride to ride that we've never needed to do that yet.
Yeah, it is just a great reminder that it's a good park for everyone from little kids up to grandparents because there's kind of something for everybody and it's not so big that you're not going to be able to meet back up easily. So it's just got something for everyone. Okay, I want to touch on a HeartSong really quick, which is the newest Dolly Resort, which is right next to DreamMore. And so when I was up there this last December, we went after Christmas for like a cabin vacation. We drove over to walk through HeartSong and ate at their nicer restaurant. And I fell in love. I feel like if we go back, I want to try HeartSong. Both are wonderful, but it had more of like a high-end lodgy feel. Definitely kind of felt like you were out in like a Western lodge, big stone fireplaces, the huge Dolly portraits and music going still. But as opposed to that like country chic vibe, I would say it was more of a rustic lodge vibe. We ate at their nicer restaurant, which is called Ember and Elm, and we absolutely loved it. We ate dinner there. This was for adults. But everything we got was phenomenal and well priced. I won't say it was cheap, but it was not like too over the top. We started with deviled eggs 3 ways, and they came with crispy pimento cheese, chicken Caesar, which sounds weird, but it was kind of good, and a hot honey shrimp. So it was like a crispy shrimp with hot honey drizzled on it over a deviled egg. They were phenomenal. We like wanted more. We got the fried green tomatoes appetizer, which were served over stone ground grits, goat cheese, and fresh basil. I'm not even a fried green tomatoes person, and I absolutely loved this dish. We started with she crab soup, which was incredible. And some of us got the butternut and poblano soup, again, literally licking the bowl. And then I got the rainbow trout, which was amazing. And my husband got the short ribs. He cleaned his plate. So I will say we will definitely go back to this resort, go back to that restaurant. It was massive, like a huge restaurant, but still like low lighting and big booths and kind of a lodgy feel. But there were tons of families and kids. I'm sure there was a great kids menu. We didn't see it because we didn't have kids with us. But that restaurant is also open for breakfast and dinner for HeartSong guests. So I just had to do a little plug. I checked before we got on. They have similar type rooms and prices. They've got bunk beds. They've got all different types of layouts. So I definitely think it's worth people looking into because it just opened this past year in 2023. And they've got the outdoor pool and all the Camp DW kids activities. So check out both, but that is something that I'm going to be looking at next time we head that way.
Yeah, that one sounds nice. It looks nice too. And then I think you still get most of the same perks.
Yeah, I think it's
that
identical.
You touched on for the DreamMore. So either one I think would be awesome if you're planning to go to the park.
Yes. Okay. And before we close out, I wanted to talk about other things to do. We're not going to mention everything because there is so much to do in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Great Smoky Mountains. But a lot of people, especially if you're coming from out of town, like out of state, I should say, you might want to hit up a handful of things while you're in the area. I will mention the closest airport is Knoxville, which is pretty easy to figure out with a quick Google search, but the closest airport is Knoxville. And when we head to this area, we like to do a hike sometimes to get out in nature. So Great Smoky Mountains is really easy to access. You can kind of just put it into your GPS and get there. Last time we were there, we did the Laurel Falls hike, which is very popular. I will say it gets very crowded. So just know it's not going to be like you're alone in nature. There's a lot of people that hit this one up, but it's great for kids because it's a path. It's slightly strenuous and long enough. I don't remember the exact, but let's say it's like a mile or so. It's long enough where it feels like you're hiking, and there are some steep kind of drop-offs, and then you end at these beautiful falls, which is a great picture spot. I will say my 6-year-old complained a lot of the time. That might just be her personality, but maybe consider it as 7+ in terms of like doing this hike with your family. But we loved that. There's tons of other hikes that you can look up. We also, on our last trip, hit up Wilderness of the Smokies Indoor Water Park one day. So since we were there at Christmas time or winter time, We bought a day pass. You can stay at Wilderness of the Smokies. It's a big kind of indoor water park hotel, like a Great Wolf Lodge, but we don't want to be, near an indoor water park for the entire trip. But for one day, it was a great way to burn off a day or an afternoon. The kids loved it. There was plenty to do for littles and bigs and big water slides. And I went down a few and it was really fun. So I definitely think that's well worth it. We have enjoyed the Pirates Voyage dinner show in Pigeon Forge before. It's a massive kind of auditorium feel with water in the middle, and there is a pirate show. Mermaids come. I will say at one point, skeletons come out in the dark, which my youngest didn't love that when she was like 4, but I think she'd be fine with it now. But it's, they serve you this big kind of like swashbuckling meal with cornbread and meat and potatoes and soup, and it's fun. I think it's fun for the family. That's down in Pigeon Forge, like in the main area. And then Anakeesta is something I wanted to mention. I've still actually never done it because every time we go over there, the line is so long, but it's a great way to get up and see the views of the Smoky Mountain area. It's really high up. You take like a gondola up, and then there's ropes courses and like a lot to do up top. There's a restaurant and brewery. And I definitely want to do that soon. I just know that I need to go first thing one morning and get in line early because that line builds. So let me know if there's anything else that you guys love to do in the area that are kind of like must-sees if someone's coming from out of state.
One thing, we enjoy a lot of what you mentioned. Our kids also are into the go-karts and the bumper boats and arcades type stuff. So there's one in Pigeon Forge called the Track, and we usually will just buy like a day pass or the unlimited thing for that, and usually spend a morning and then go grab lunch somewhere. So that's definitely fun if your kiddos are into that. And then the other thing that we enjoy is called Ober Gatlinburg. So it's at the very end of the strip in Gatlinburg, and you can either drive up the mountain, which I will say if you go like late fall and winter, sometimes it's snowy up there and it's not down on the main strip. So you can park and you can pay to ride a tram car that takes you up the mountain like a cable car. It's super cool. You get views of all of Gatlinburg, and it's an experience that it's not a mode of transportation, I guess, that your kiddos will get anywhere else. But in the winter or late fall, they have skiing up there that you can do, all different levels. You can also buy tickets just for snow tubing, which we have done a couple times. And then on the inside, they have a food court. I will say the food is there's not a lot of options, and it's just basically concession style food. But just being up there is really cool. The tubing is a lot of fun. And then indoor, they have ice skating. So if you're there in the winter, that's another a fun thing that you can do. And you can make a day out of it, definitely a half day out of it for sure if you're looking to try to do more in a day. But those are also some fun things that we find that we like to do when we go. And then
we'll definitely have to try
when you
those.
Talked about hiking, as far as the hiking, if you go right into the Smoky Mountain National Park, there's a ranger station. Right when you enter, there's signage. If you go in there with your family, they have the maps and different trails and things like that. The rangers are pretty great at looking at your kiddos and kind of starring trails that might be appropriate age-wise. We've done that a couple times. And they can kind of point you on a path that's maybe less busy or less visited by tourists or fellow hikers that you can go out that you wouldn't maybe know about otherwise, because if you Google, usually the main ones come up, and then those are the ones that get busy. So that's another great feature. If you're a family who likes to hike, just stop in that ranger station and just ask them for some guidance and some help, and they can usually point you in a direction. Like you said, with our girls being 6 and girls, sometimes hiking comes with some complaints.
Yes.
But yes, the rangers can kind of help get you on an easier path that your whole family can enjoy a little bit more together.
Those are fabulous tips. You had also mentioned earlier that there's a couple spots you guys really enjoy for sit-down dinners in the area. Do you want to mention some of those?
Sure. One is the Old Mill, And that has been there since I was a kid. It's right on the main drag strip in Pigeon Forge. It's very southern type cuisine, hearty. I think they do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but for dinner, we like it. It's going to be your, fried chicken, fried catfish, those types of things, pork chops. So if that's not your style of food, it is very hearty. But it's just, again, it kind of takes you back to that old time, quaint vibe down through there. And then Huck Finn's is another one. It is not a fancy restaurant, but at times if you go in the evening, there will be a long wait. It's a catfish sort of seafood type place. They cook it all right there. And our kids happen to like that kind of stuff. So again, I grew up going there as a kiddo. And so it's still something that we like to take our kids to. Everybody leaves full and happy. And then on our way out, more in like Sevierville, as we're coming back towards Nashville, we always stop at the Apple Barn and have breakfast there on our way out. And that is another really good place for breakfast. I know they do dinner also, which we have never tried because it just has become our go-to spot for breakfast. Can have quite a bit of a wait if you get there 10 o'clock or after. So we usually try to go first thing on our way out. Eat there. They have a couple of barns with souvenirs and different types of food products that they serve at the restaurant, jams, jellies, biscuit mixes, things like that. So we usually stop there and then get a few things to bring home before we head on back. So those are some that kind of are our staples that we go to often when we're out there.
I'm so glad you mentioned Apple Barn because that is where my husband's family also grew up going. And so when we're in town, we try to hit that up as well. And we went for dinner. And it is a massive establishment. Like there's a lot of different areas to be seated in. So that helps with the wait. We didn't have to wait too long. We went at like a normal dinner time, but I will say they've got the most delicious apple butter that they bring out, which is something that you just don't get a lot of places anymore. And a very yummy, hearty dinner menu. There's a chicken pot pie on it. In the room we were seated in, there were some aquariums, or maybe there were birds. Maybe it was both, but the kids could kind of run around and see some different animals. So we enjoyed that as well. And we'll have to try it for breakfast sometime. That sounds good. And so do the other restaurants you mentioned. Okay, so I'm going to close each show with, if someone is listening and considering this trip, what is it about Dollywood and the DreamMore Resort that would make you say, book it?
I think for me personally, there is something for everybody in your family. Like we talked about, regardless of age, there's something that everyone will enjoy. Again, just the convenience of DreamMore with the resort just makes it so nice. You don't have to leave. There's no traffic. Everything is just kind of right there at your fingertips. And I feel like just by staying there and doing Dollywood, it just takes a lot of the stress out because you don't have to really plan anything outside of the property. Once you get there, you just know that it's going to be fun and everything is there. As far as the resort goes, super clean, which when we travel, I love a good clean hotel. And this one was spotless. The staff was very friendly. Everyone enjoyed the stay part. And then once you're at the park, like we mentioned, it just kind of takes you back to an old time feel, almost like you feel like you're living in a different era, if that makes sense at all. It's not like modern day, there's not a lot of like super technological things that are going on there, I guess. With some of the other theme parks, it's just very, lights and flashy and 3D, and they still have kept a lot of that old Western historical kind of small town vibe there. So for us, it's just a way to unplug, get in the mountains, enjoy the beautiful scenery. And then once you're there, there's just so much to do that the possibilities are endless. So hopefully you can find something that everyone in your family will like. But definitely I say give it a try. I think that you will not be disappointed with the resort or the property or just that general area. East Tennessee is so beautiful if you're not from here. So just give it a try, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as we both do taking our family.
I totally agree. It's making me want to book another trip right now. Well, thank you so much, Kari. And I will put all of the restaurants and the things to do in the show notes of this episode. So if anyone wants to reference all the places and things we mentioned, you can check it out there, and stay tuned for another episode of Trip Tales soon. Thanks, Kari.
Thanks, Kelsey. Have a good day.
That wraps up another episode of Trip Tales. If you have a trip you'd like to share about on the podcast, email me at triptalespodcast@gmail.com and I'll add you to the schedule. Also, be sure to follow the show so that you don't miss any upcoming vacation destinations. And if you have an extra minute in your day, please leave a review for the podcast. It helps more than you could imagine. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next episode of Trip Tales.